What's up, Shakes? It's just you and me here today. Kevin's in another meeting, rushing from one into the next one. So we're just gonna get into our good, bad, and ugly. How was your weekend?
Yeah, no, my weekend was good. I think there was some pretty good results. There was some surprising results as well in terms of how the games went. I mean, obviously, you can't not see the Manchester City result, but that's actually not my good. Actually, my good result over the weekend would have to be Leeds United against Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
Um, Reason being is because we know Leeds United to be they play football, they play some really good football, they concede goals. But yesterday, watching them last night, it was the first game I watched them, and I thought they just don't look like they're going to concede, and defensively they were so good. And that's why they scored the two goals, they got the job done, they managed the game. And for me, I would definitely would say that's my good result.
Yeah, and they've bumped themselves up into top half of the table too. Yeah.
Yeah, they have. They've actually climbed over Arsenal, which is yeah, something else. But they've climbed up the table, and I think obviously their main goal should be to just stay in the Premier League, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think they've really exceeded. We spoke about it before, but like really exceeded expectations in terms of the goal was, avoid relegation. But now it's like week in and week out, they actually are contenders, which is really cool to watch. My good comes in for a team I do think I have a soft spot for, Tottenham, but a specific player, Harry Kane, back quite quickly from injury, scores as he comes back. It's him and Son, and just shows how pivotal he is in that team, and really I think like staking his claim again for Premier League player of the season so far this season. So just great to watch him come back from injury, not struggle. So that was my good.
Yeah. No, I mean that's totally understandable. I think when he came back, you could see the difference in performances from their previous games to how they played over the weekend. But man, they have to take notes, eh? Don't
Yeah,
you think? I mean, I think Jose has to take note to say, what if it happens again?
yeah. Conversely, you could say it's a bad because Tottenham are so heavily reliant on him to engineer the way they play. There's no one else that can do that, but then they stick to the same game plan, and it just nothing ends up happening. So.
Yeah, I definitely would agree with you, man.
Yeah, but I mean, nice result for them. Nice result for Kane. What's your bad? Getting into the negatives.
Okay, so now we're getting into sort of like the negative one. The negative one actually for me is not, it's actually not a result. It's basically what happened over the weekend. I mean, there was that big incident with Thomas Soucek of West Ham United and Fulham. They were playing against each other. The game ended 0-0, but towards the end of the game, you could see that Soucek hit the Fulham striker, which by mistake on the head because he was trying to take his arm the other way around. And unfortunately, Mitrovic fell to the ground. They went and checked it on VAR. And VAR, after that, Mike Dean proceeded to carry on and give him the red card. And I say bad because just a couple of days later, the red card was rescinded. So
Yeah.
it doesn't make the officials look great, Oliver.
And it doesn't change the outcome of the game either. I think that's the thing when it comes to red cards, guys getting sent off is you're affecting a game too. So even though it may play a big role in the final result of that game because of when it happened too, it's that thing of like, you're removing an element and then you're admitting a mistake afterwards. Who does it help? It helps the player who receives a bit less of a ban. But I mean, yeah, it doesn't cover the officials in glory. But Mike Dean does love a card. So
Yeah, no, he does. I don't know if you actually saw the story, Oliver, that he's actually, there's reports that he doesn't want to ref a Premier League game this weekend because apparently he's been getting death threats and
serious.
yeah, yeah, no, so now because of it's been rescinded and social media as well, he also said it himself that he would ref one of the FA Cup games either tonight or tomorrow. But then he said for the Premier League over the weekend, he's not comfortable because of the threats that he's gotten. So it's kind of
That's
sad.
crazy.
And I really do think they need to deal with this better, the whole officiating thing.
Yeah, I think the problem is with VAR is that anything slowed down to super slow-mo can look malicious. It's like in rugby, anything slowed down to super slow-mo can look like a knock-on when you're grounding the ball. you've also got to kind of look at something in real time, and that's how you judge a guy's intent, you know, and his intent wasn't to go and sock him in the face. It's a reflex action. Same with the handball stuff, and you know, all the blurred lines around the handballs in the beginning of the year is, if you naturally as a person jump, your hands go a certain way without you meaning for them to, you know. So
exactly,
really does also have to be reassessed how much of a you know, an official role that VAR can play. Yeah, I mean, my bad is still results based and team based. Yeah, I've been saying to you guys for a while, like, Man United just, to me, don't, like, there's something about them, and I know, you know, 9-0 over Southampton, but I look at that again as an anomaly of a result in a season that's had many of those anomalies. Because Man United also got beaten 6-1 or 6-2, I think, by Tottenham. You know, Liverpool we've seen those kind of results, but what I see from Man United is a team that happens to be getting it right, but these results aren't really indicative of like how quality they are as a unit, and I don't think they've really got the legs to go all the way, because I think they still will drop results that they shouldn't. And this past weekend was, you know, a prime example of that. Just brilliant first half from United. They were actually playing probably the best footy I've kind of seen them play. 2 goals up, all of a sudden, you know, then they lead, then it's 3-2, and then 94th minute Calvert-Lewin. They drop in 94th minute at yeah. And it's just a 3-0. They're both Everton stoked to come away with the point, considering that, you know, Everton weren't in the game for 45 minutes. And Man United, like, you look at Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and you can just see him thinking, what happened in the last 15 minutes? Where did this go wrong, you know? So just, yeah, I think those kind of things say a lot about where a team is. And, you know, like, City don't drop those results this season so far.
Yeah. You're definitely right, Oliver. I agree with you in the sense of any team, especially if you are Manchester United, if you're playing at home and you go 2-0 up, you should not be throwing that game. And they threw it away. And I think that performance as well I think it exposed a lot about Manchester United. Like, if you ever wanted a result that would confirm that they're not winning the league, it's definitely that result. And especially the fact that the team above the Manchester City have a game in hand over them and are already 5 points clear as well. So I think you're definitely right. It is a bad result for Manchester United.
You also got to question the kind of like the tactics behind it. Is if you think you get 2-0 up half-time, even though the fans might not want it, park the bus, you know. So he brings on a CDM. You kind of think that's going to be the way they're going to play, but then they're still playing to kind of attack, and it's like, then why didn't Van Beek come on? You know, why is he still eating bench if you're not going to be playing a defensively orientated game? So it really, that second half really made no sense to me, but not a lot's made sense so far this season.
Yeah, no, a lot obviously that don't make sense over the weekend. And my final ugly, I don't think you want to like to hear this, Oliver, but it has to be Liverpool getting thumped 4-1 at home, man. It's look, the mistakes from Alisson. The game was pretty close until obviously the mistakes from Alisson. I think Trent had a really bad game as well. But just losing 4-1 at home, not only did it just, you sort of saw the champions within that game, number one, and number two, it sort of confirmed that Liverpool are definitely not defending their title this season.
I think you also, and I'm just going to jump off you there because my ugly is exactly the same. I think you're seeing Liverpool sort of like, as they've lost steam, Man City's gained steam, and you look back to the 1-1 result. I mean, the 0-0 result, I think it was, when they first met each other a couple of months ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it was 1-1.
Was 1-1. Brilliant game of football, though. Just like a chess game, and you could see like she's two really strong contenders. And, in the space of time following that, you've just seen the one rise and the one plunge. And it was like during the game, there was that penalty miss from City. You thought, okay, Liverpool, that's a sign. It's a good sign. And then then the goals are coming, and Liverpool are, losing more and more. And it was just the game itself, I think, in terms of how that game slipped away from Liverpool and into Man City's hands, very indicative of how, a title hope has slipped from Liverpool and into City's hands. Like, you find Liverpool 10 points, you find City 10 points clear of Liverpool, with a game in hand, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, look, Alva, you follow Liverpool a lot. You are a fan of Liverpool as well. Let me ask a question in terms of from now on till the end of the season, should Klopp just risk playing the two centre backs he bought and push Henderson and Fabinho in midfield? Like risk it, just risk it till the end of the season.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, if you've bought into centre backs now after being quite I think quite defiant in the initial stages, we can do it within our squad. And look, to be fair, maybe they could have done it in their squad if they didn't have 6-7 injuries that followed the Van Dijk injury. You know, so we got to remember it's not just him out. But if you're bringing in guys before game week 23, surely you're bringing them in as an emergency operation when you're knowing that, you know, Van Dijk is going to be back, Matip's going to be back. All your guys are going to be back next year. So surely you're not buying two centre backs to invest too much in the future. You're buying two centre backs to try and fill a hole that currently exists. So look, if I was Klopp, his current system's not working. He's got an alternative. It might be sort of unorthodox, but you know, chuck those guys in, see what they can do.
Check them in.
Yeah.
Because now the thing is also, Oliver, another question, or the last one regarding this topic is, should Liverpool be worried about not even finishing in the top four? Or are they so good that you think that top four is definitely guaranteed?
I think top four, I think they will make top four still. I think, the other teams have weaknesses that Liverpool are coping with all those. I don't know, it's like, it might sound like a fan making excuses and stuff, but you got to remember they're coping with all these injuries, whereas other guys have very specific weaknesses. So it's like Tottenham, if they're contending for top four, they lose Kane, they're not contending for top four. Arsenal aren't able to string more than 3 results together before they draw, before they lose, you know. Man United are beating Southampton 9-0 one weekend, and then they're dropping a 2-0 lead against Everton to lose 3-3. It's like, I think, a lot of the teams that are contending, Leicester's an interesting one because they've actually been flying pretty consistently under the radar, but there's something about the Leicester way that just lends itself to inconsistency. So you actually never know when they're going to kind of fall. I think there's a clear number one in City, obviously. Chelsea, interesting, 3 good results now, under new management, but it's also only been 3 games. Time will tell. So I think Liverpool have enough in them to still retain a top 4 spacing, but they need to sort out a problem that's been a huge problem for every team, and it's dropping those small results, dropping the ones that ensure you points, and that's something City hasn't been doing, and that's why they're sitting head and shoulders above the rest.
No, you're definitely right. I agree with you in terms of I think Liverpool still have enough. But they have to string in results because, it's not just the City game that hurts. It's also the West Brom draws, dropping points against Fulham, dropping points against United at home as well. And unfortunately, what that has done has gotten Everton closer to them, West Ham closer to them, and as well as Chelsea closer to them now as well. So they have to win the next couple of games, and it's going to be very crucial.
An interesting stat is with Chelsea-Liverpool is actually that I read that that Alisson's actually been involved directly in goals from mistakes more times than Kepa has over the last 2 Premier League seasons.
Really?
Yeah, and look, you got to put into context that Alisson's obviously been playing a hell of a lot more. He's been starting consistently for 2, and there's no comparison between the 2 players. But it's crazy how stats like that do kind of show themselves. And look, he didn't cover himself in glory this past weekend.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right. It was uncharacteristic to see that from Alisson, but I think he's still a good goalkeeper. He should be fine. But yeah, I think Liverpool definitely need to start winning games soon.
Yeah, they also unfortunately put themselves in a position where they can't really afford to lose that many more. It's not like soccer and Premier League isn't a knockout game really, or knockout tournament. It's not like Liverpool just find it in them on a good day to knock over City, who have by far been the better side, and they knock them over in a semi-final, go to the final. Like your placing in the Premier League is a result of your accumulated results,
Yes.
And that's why guys say if they're going to run away with it, it's slipping away from them, because you see it gradually happen sort of week after week. And that's unfortunately
no
where
doubt.
Liverpool find
I
themselves.
will agree, but it's going to get very interesting, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to a nice. Also, we've got a nice breather this week. We've got a week and then Premier League happening over the weekend. It's not as congested as the past few months have been. So looking forward to kind of doing a bit of research and then chatting preview with you on Thursday or Friday.
Awesome, man. Hopefully you enjoy the FA Cup action that's playing today, well, tonight and tomorrow, and as well as on Thursday as well.
You too, Shakes. Thanks, man.
Cheers, Oliver.
Cheers.